Welcome to BW Wellbeing World on the International Day of Yoga. This is Harbinder Narula, and on this special occasion, I have with me Miss Anshuka Parwani, a well-known face of the Indian fitness industry, someone who's revolutionized the wellness and innovative programs that blend aerial yoga, aerial Pilates, and aerial fitness. Anshuka is a national level gold medalist in swimming, someone who's accomplished athlete, and is a commercial pilot. She is someone who absolutely epitomizes the fitness and wellness. Anshuka has trained some of the Bollywood's biggest celebrities as well. Let's explore Anshuka's journey and her insights into the world of fitness and wellness on this International Yoga Day on BW Wellbeing World with Harbinder Narula. Anshuka, first of all, welcome to BW Wellbeing World. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today. And today is International Day of Yoga. But before I jump into our today's discussion, I'm very curious to know what inspired you to create a blend of aerial yoga, aerial Pilates, and aerial fitness. How did this aerial thing come into your mind? And you've been a swimmer, you've been a pilot. I mean, how did your journey from a swimmer move towards aerial fitness?
Okay, so I'll start at the beginning. I used to be a national level swimmer. A national level gold medalist, so I did represent the country. I did not win internationally. Soon after I finished my education, at some point I went to become a commercial pilot, got my commercial pilot's license. And just when I was about to start flying for the airlines, I got into a near fatal motorbike accident. Today, I can say that with a lot of pride, and I speak about it very objectively. Back then, it wasn't the same case. I was immobile for about a year, 9 months to be precise. And after that, I still needed crutches and help to walk, to do anything. Work was, that was a far-fetched thought. I could not walk on my own. I started physiotherapy, and yoga came into my life as yoga therapy. So ever since I was little, I used to practice yoga because my mom is a teacher as well. So we had, that influence growing up. However, I had not taken to the practice completely. And I started yoga as part of my physical recovery. What started as a physical recovery very soon turned into everything else but just a physical recovery. And why I say that is because when you're injured, you can have your doctors, you can have bandages, you can have medicines, and you know that you're going to heal. But it's the other trauma that accidents or any low points in your life leave you with. And my mother, I'm very fortunate to have a mother who recognized that at the right time. And the next thing I went into a yoga school to become a teacher. What started out to be a 1-month yoga teacher training course. I enjoyed it so much. I did the long version of it and many more trainings right after that. Yoga for me came to me. I understood what yoga was, not just yoga, because a lot of people look at yoga. They feel like yoga is very synonymous to a physical asana practice, but yoga is so much more than that. And exactly what you said earlier, when we were chatting about well-being, it's mind, body, soul. It's not just one, getting into a split or balancing on your head. And I realized that when I went to yoga school, I enjoyed that thoroughly. And right after that is when I started teaching. I had the opportunity to go back to the airlines, which I did not, which was my choice. Also, when you're medically unfit, your license is temporarily suspended, your flying license. So I did become medically fit again, which is a class 1 medical, which is really one of the biggest, most toughest medicals to crack in all of India. That's your army medical. So I was medically fit, and my journey with yoga got me there. And I was so grateful, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I felt like it was definitely my calling. And at that moment, I realized that growing up, I had the same thought process as any other person whose myths I tried to bust all the time, which is yoga is boring, yoga is for the flexible, different sort of these perceptions that everybody has already. So I started teaching, and on one of my travels, I was actually in America. I was in New York, and I saw an aerial yoga class that was taking place. So I enrolled myself for it. And of course, uh, you have a hammock, you're flying, you're defying gravity, the same things like a pilot, really. So I was very curious, and my curiosity made me walk into that particular class, completely enjoyed it. And I realized that this prop, there's so much more you can do with the prop of an aerial hammock, just get into certain yoga asana poses. So I brought it back with me, the apparatus. I worked on it for a year, and that's where I sort of pioneered Fly Fit, which is flying fitness, because I understood that it is like not even flying fitness, it's a holistic practice. It's just a prop like any other prop aiding you. And very early on, when I used yoga as therapy, I used a lot of props. So I realized that there are a lot of people who cannot get into certain asanas which are beneficial for them, certain poses, certain conditions also require you to be inverted, etc. So that's when, I mean, that passion, it's very unique, of course. And that passion for like defying gravity, that fascination, it sort of allowed me to that entire amalgamation, and that's how Fly Fit came into place.
A lot can change in your life with certain incidents, but then you know that it's been for a reason, and it's probably helped you find your calling, like you said.
Absolutely.
Anshuka, what and how is aerial fitness different from the traditional forms of fitness that we have seen? We've seen people go to the gyms, and we've
Correct.
seen people do Pilates, but having combination of fitness through props, through aerial fitness, how is it different from what we've seen traditionally?
So the one thing that I see is that with the practice, it really brings out your inner child. I'm going to give you all the other benefits, but I want to talk about how everybody leaves the class with a smile, and it takes you back to your childhood where you were sitting on a swing, and all you really were doing was swinging on a swing and that was just your responsibility, not to fall off the swing, really have fun with it, releasing all those endorphins, the serotonin, all the good stuff was happening. This apparatus takes you back there with a lot of safety. As adults, we really forget to be children again, so that's one of the biggest advantages that I see, because nobody really walks out of 100%, nobody has walked out of a class without a smile. So for me, now coming back to just being happy, it's also about releasing those particular hormones, which are so good for your hormonal health as well. It's working your endocrine system, and I feel that in itself is a great benefit. Secondly, posture wise, right? It allows you to get into better posture. It improves better flexibility. It promotes better alignment because you're still getting aided by a prop. A lot of people who cannot invert, being upside down on the floor, even with support, because you're still putting a lot of pressure on your spinal cord, on your neck, etc., even if you do have help. So a lot of people want to achieve certain things, which this helps you to, this aids you in that. And really, it's about gaining all the benefits without putting your body to do things which your body is not ready for. And I also call it that it gives you like a natural facelift, because all your blood circulation is really reversing. After a class, people actually feel taller and are taller, but it doesn't stay. That's only because they have better alignment and posture. It promotes that sort of lengthening. Another thing that I can talk about, it's a zero gravity inversion again, which it's giving your spinal cord all that blood circulation and all that nutrition that it really needs. And what else can I say? The benefits are just innumerous, really. But I will tell you that it's very challenging. It challenges all the tinier muscles that you would not otherwise exercise on a mat. So it's a great supplementation to the mat practice.
Got it. And Anshuka, when you think about yoga,
right,
it's the first thing that comes into our mind. It's a very age-old thing. It's a very, very traditional form of exercise, both from the physical point of view as well as the mental point of view. but it has a lot of significance in India. What does International Day of Yoga mean to you personally? Since you got into this for a reason, and
Absolutely.
you found your the calling from this, and how what does it mean to you professionally, and how are you planning to make it's a long question. So how are you planning to make International Day of Yoga special to celebrate this occasion? So what does it mean for you personally, professionally,
Okay.
and how do you celebrate it?
Okay, so I'll tell you that International Day of Yoga, for me, honestly, Yoga Day is every day because the magic that is brought to my life, I feel like I have had a second life after my accident today, physically, mentally, emotionally, and on every level, even spiritually, I feel that I have grown. And that's why I celebrate it every day. One of the reasons that I started doing this as a profession was because I really wanted to spread the magic of the practice. Of course, the business part of it is very important. But more importantly, what's important is somebody like me who was always active, extremely ambitious, went ahead. I was almost flying for the airlines, right? I mean, I still had my license, etc. The magic that it brought to me was so intangible that I needed to sort of spread it. So personally, it's just another celebration, and it's that reminder of the magic. But I have to tell you that that reminder comes every single day when I open my eyes and I'm breathing. So for me, I think it's about celebrating my breath on a personal level, and on a professional level, I think it's great that we have a day. Number one, I'm glad that our Prime Minister started this because it is from our country. So when Modi ji started this and we started celebrating it as India given to the world, for me, that was a matter of pride. My reaction was that it was about time because I have had the opportunity to travel a lot, and I've seen how the Westerners have adapted to the practice much more than the Indians have. So what I like is that this day is sort of like a pause where everybody is open to trying out the practice. And I feel like, I can tell you a lot of things about spreading word and community and all of that. Yes, of course, that's important professionally. But I think what's more important is that the awareness has grown so much. So every corporate firm, every tiny business, small business offices, everybody is taking the day out to at least practice or reading about it. So I'm enjoying the awareness that it's built because, of course, in turn, that leads me to the third question is what I'm doing. I'm doing so many things, starting from community classes, which I absolutely love, where we have worked with the BMC schools, where we have worked with a lot of underprivileged children. And this is something that I like to give back because they don't have direct access to me. And I like to, spread the knowledge with people who really don't have that direct access to start with. That's one. We are doing a lot of virtual classes. We are doing a lot of in-person events, large events. And I really enjoy that energy and the awareness. And this year's theme, I believe I think it's yoga for empowerment of women. I could be wrong. I have to recheck, but this is what I remember. And I think that is so amazing. Being a woman myself, knowing how incredible this practice is and has done wonders for the hormonal circus that really all women have to go through, because there are so many phases of life as a woman that you deal with. I like that they are celebrating that, which in turn will have every man celebrating and understanding because of the awareness that, all the awareness, everybody, whether it's digital media, everybody's talking about it. And I think the awareness is here to stay and break the myths of yoga being age old. And yes, it is age old. And just like Ayurveda, most potent and most beneficial.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Anshuka, because it's very, very, while yoga is for everyone and for all ages, it's especially beneficial for women because from the fact that yoga is a union of physical and mental well-being, and also the kind of efforts and the work pressures that women have with their dual responsibility as per the current society norms,
Correct.
as well as certain conditions that only women go through, certain things like hormonal changes, PCOD, PCOS,
Pregnancy.
pregnancy.
Yes.
I think yoga is a very big contributor to what is happening with them and in their life.
Absolutely.
Anshuka, since we call it an International Day of Yoga, How do you think this contributes to global awareness and practice of yoga? Because it is not restricted to our country. While it started from our country, it is not restricted to India only. And it has seen
Correct.
wider acceptance in the last few years across the globe. So, how do you think that the International Day of Yoga contributes to global awareness of what yoga can do?
I think the shift that we've seen in the last decade on mental health and mental wellness more than anything has been on a rise. I think with the practice of yoga and celebrating it globally, it also adds the spiritual aspect. So it makes it extremely, 360-degree holistic. That's one thing. And also, I feel the new age tools, it's like a comprehensive toolkit of like old ancient practices and bringing in new age tech, really, which is very accessible to the youth. And I think that my youngest student, being 2.5 years old, of course, doesn't have access to a screen, but the teenagers do, and I see that access has grown, has become wider. And globally, I mean, with the tech world really evolving, it's really become such an important toolkit, which you can also just access with a touch of a phone. So I like the modern adaptations. I enjoy it. I think it's very urban and it's needed. And that's how I feel that this sort of awareness has changed everything globally, mental and spiritual more than anything else.
And do you think it has also broken down or lowered down the cultural barriers that were there between India and rest of the world?
No, absolutely, 100%. And again, because sometimes there is another myth where yoga, a lot of people think it's a religion as well, right? So this awareness allows you to understand that it's a lifestyle that really we all can adapt to. And this lifestyle is only giving you great health, great wellness and well-being.
So, Anshuka, how do you think the involvement of celebrities in yoga has influenced the popularity and perception of yoga among the general public? Because when you think about yoga, again, I'm going back to my earlier question.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that comes into our mind, it's a very traditional thing. The typical, if you close your eyes, the vision of somebody doing yoga is typically a rishi muni sitting in the Himalayas and doing yoga. Has this changed the perception and affected the acceptability of yoga among the young people? What is your opinion on this?
Absolutely, 100%. And I'm very grateful because we are a country which is extremely inspired, is a good word to say, inspired by celebrities from every industry, right? Whether it's sportsmen, whether it's actors, across the board. And why not? Because they have that sort of influence on mass numbers of people, which I have seen that shift in trajectory. I can give you a live example because my first student has been Bebo, Kareena Kapoor Khan, who's still my student. And I did see a big shift when, and this is before the Instagram became really popular, She did go out there and speak about the practice, spoke about yoga being part of her fitness routine and wellness routine. It was not restricted to just movement physically. People really appreciated the way she looked. People appreciated the way she spoke about what the practice brought to her, whether it was in print media, whether it was in interviews, etc. And that had a ripple effect, especially in the youth, because of course, as an adult, with the awareness and the education, you also understand how this practice is beneficial. But I mean, lack of a better word, became cool. Which was not cool earlier was cool and trendy. And although I hate calling yoga a trend, I'm glad that the trend picked up because that trend has eventually led to the lifestyle. So I am somebody who completely believes that whether or not you walk into my class, if you just want to lose weight, I'm okay with that. Because I have seen the shift in mindset where people have walked into my class saying, hey, I want to be size 0 like Bebo. Or I want to do 108 Surya Namaskars like Bebo. And I'm like, okay, lovely. That's a great goal to have. I'm not a rigid teacher and a human being in general. I feel like your motivation could be absolutely anything. And I'll give you another example where I've seen in my group classes, I've had people keep their phones next to their mat. And our rule was to have phones on silent so they don't disturb the class. But eventually I would say that the phone was going into the bag. And for me, that was very rewarding. So I felt like the shift was very, it was hard to miss. And yeah, so I'm very grateful to anybody who can really make a change and an impact. So if you want to look like your celebrity that you absolutely love and adore, please do it. And then, have the discipline and have all the disciplines that they follow. Why not?
So, Anshuka, what about people who want to begin their journey much later in their life? Because if you look at the corporate executives, the leadership, these guys do not even understand the importance of fitness until it becomes a necessary thing for them
Correct.
to do. Because it's also in the later part of their career that they start feeling the mental pressures. They may not be having physical pressures. They don't have to go out in the sun and sell, but there's a lot of strategy that they need to create. There's a lot of accountability. How do you think someone who's never been fond of fitness, never been into fitness, and now wants to begin working towards being physically and mentally healthy, what is the scope for them to start looking at doing yoga as an initiation into the fitness life of theirs?
So one thing that I always advise anybody who has this conversation with me, we do a lot of corporate workshops. Throughout COVID, we ran a lot of long-term programs also. And since you mentioned accountability, what was very interesting is that a lot of people would start doing it as a community. So they were accountable to one another, if not themselves. Always. And now if we are just talking about yoga as an initiation, you have to have an open mind. Yoga is very different from going to a conventional gym because you have to, there is a lot of energy exchange between you and your teacher. So you have to sort of identify who you're most comfortable with because you are the most vulnerable on your mat. Also coming from, just because we are speaking high stress related jobs, it could be anything, right? They also need an outlet to talk and a safe space. So you have to sort of find that for you. Of course, the usual consistency is the key. Find the teacher that you feel most compatible with. I also feel that you should really enjoy the journey and enjoy the progress rather than just focusing on the perfection bit. Just for everyone, not really corporate, high stress jobs, just for everyone. I think fitness and wellness also is a choice that you make every single day. If you enjoy practicing for 4 days, on the 5th day, you might not want to. And that's a choice that you make. And that's where discipline kicks in. So you have to make that choice to be disciplined, just how you would wake up and brush your teeth. It has to be that choice where you, no matter what, you still get onto the mat and do anything, whether it's few minutes of breath work, if it's a walk that you enjoy, if it's a sport that you enjoy. And consistency. Unfortunately, it's such an underrated word, so cliche, but consistency is the key. No, you could work out one day for 10 hours, and then if you don't work out for the 9 next days, that workout is really not good enough for the next 9 days,
But tell me one thing, Anshuka, it is very interesting what you're bringing out, consistency. A lot of people get very excited. They come onto that journey, and but it just does not cut through because their body is responding to the sudden pressures that they're feeling. And then there is work, there's travel, etc. In your experience, what have you observed among these kind of people? What has inspired them to continue on the journey that they began?
I think number one, of course, discipline, because that is that choice. And that if you have discipline in the different aspects of your life, that will, sort of trickle down into this as well. But I also think that community matters. Who you are. I'll give you an example for me. We do a lot of personalized boutique style classes where we work personally with one-on-ones and one-on-twos. So if for example, after they're doing well for 15 days and on the 16th day, they do not come for a practice maybe, or I see a pattern where I feel like they are slacking, I will question them, right? So there is that sort of conversation and that accountability. That's why I always tell people that those challenges that you do, the New Year challenge of 15 days, 21 days, things like that, I'm not a big believer of those, to be honest. I'm more of a find a practice that you can be consistent with, and the right tools. So again, I'm not a big believer of starting your any kind of fitness journey without a certified teacher. So I'm not big into the YouTube schools until you have reached the place where you feel that you're accountable enough. And this should not be a question that am I going to continue? And also with injuries, talking about actual physical injuries, we are not equipped to, I am, because I've studied anatomy, I have studied a lot of other things which I can help with. Everybody's not equipped to be your own yoga teacher, your anatomy teacher, your fitness teacher. So find that might take time, but identify someone where you'll feel comfortable, safe space, and that consistency then becomes a lifestyle, right? And if you're still someone who feels like that's not going to happen, do it with a friend. Accountability is so interesting. Community is so interesting because it's very inspiring.
But tell me one thing, Anshuka, has it ever occurred to you that because of what you do, which is amalgamation of yoga, aerial fitness,
right,
otherwise, you're impacting people's lives? Would you not want to call yourself a life coach?
I'm a certified life coach, and yes, I am. It's not something, I am a certified life coach, health coach, but I really feel like I'm more like just a medium giving out tools of what I understand, because I'm always studying, and again, like you said, I feel like I'm giving people those tools to make that choice, that consistency choice, and I'll give you like diverting from this, and I'll tell you how the practice has such a lovely ripple effect where I feel like I'm impacting many more lives. We have a kids yoga which starts at 2.5 years old. Vajrasana is a very common pose which people do right after eating. If you sit in the pose for an asana for a long time, it's very good for your digestion. And there's another one for constipation, Malasana. And I remember just chatting with the children about it because also their attention span is very, very little. But I did have a mother that came into class that told us that, now because of their child, everybody is sitting in Vajrasana after eating. It might be very small, but again, that one child, I've already impacted that entire family, So it's so lovely to know that fondness of how they even send the energy back, because she came in with a lot of gratitude, and I'm sure they've spoken about this to maybe another family, or I don't know, talking about their child. So I know that it's just not that one person that I'm sharing with, so I like to do my part. And yeah.
So tell me, Anshuka, what is the most fulfilling? Because all of us, when our passion and the profession becomes one, I think that's a very fulfilling experience. But what part of your work is the most fulfilling? Is it being able to be at a level where the celebrities are coming to you, be trained? Are you enjoying that celebrity status on Instagram? Or is it because of the money that you make? Or is it something beyond that? Like you said, you're a Zaria to be able to make a difference. So what part of what you do is the most fulfilling for you? At the end of the day, what makes you feel good?
I think it's that moment after every class, which I feel a lot of, peace. I think peace is a good word to go with. I feel it's very, very rewarding. And I don't mean to say that, if somebody has a goal of getting into a split and then they achieve it and they're saying thank you, it's not about that. For me, my breath is really everything. I have been a swimmer, so I understand breath work much more than most people who have not been athletes, because we were given tools to sort of control our breath rather than having our breath control us. I've also been in a situation where I could not move my legs for one whole week, which has been very scary. To which I also went to a yoga school, which taught me how magical my breath is. And I feel like that when another individual understands, for me, I think those moments have been very rewarding. And I'll tell you another thing where we do a lot of these intention, it's sankalpa, however one says it. We do a lot of intention driven. Every practice has an intention. It's just not done without an intention. And after class, we do a small exercise where we go back to the intention that we first set. And we always give ourselves a tight hug. So a practice is where I make every student hug themselves and really thank their body for breathing and for supporting their practice throughout that 1 hour. It's as small as that. And I see these big smiles because of the awareness. And I feel that, I mean, globally, we really need this. We all need to be in tune with ourselves. I feel like that the brick and mortar around us, sometimes we forget that we are, breath, we are body. And I feel like that sort of, that understanding, when I see people's mindset shift, I think that gives me a lot of peace, happiness, whatever you call it. But I think that's the most rewarding.
So Anshuka, I want to digress. There's one
Please.
question that comes to my mind, and I'm very tempted to ask you, is because of your own experience of meeting with an accident.
Right.
Somebody who was a gold medalist swimmer, wanting to fly, and suddenly you are immobile. You can't move, and then yoga as a practice brings you back to life. How did it change you as a person? What does gratitude mean to you today compared to what you were before the accident happened?
Gratitude has meant to me today and before the accident as much. I'll be lying if I say otherwise, but the focus that I give I was grateful for being alive, for my family members being alive, for moving, for having all my senses. Yes, there was a lot of gratitude instilled in me as well, because with my parents also, we always, even before we eat, we still will thank and put that morsel in our mouth, so. But when you start, how do I put it, the first time that I felt sensation in my legs after not having sensation for say 6.5 days, there was a sense of how do I put it, gratefulness, which was beyond. So the faith, I think my faith became much more, if you call it, did I always have faith? Yes, always. I've had faith of higher power, energy, God, whatever, whoever might call it, always have faith. But I think that sort of sealed the deal when that movement happened, because for me, it was very scary. I've always been over enthusiastic, you can call me, jumping from place A to place B, always being, and then suddenly not moving for a few days, not having sensation in my legs was very scary. And I don't think that fear, I never had that kind of fear, right? So when that sort of fear shifted is when I think the faith became sealed. Yeah.
Got it. And do you get to go for your swim every day today also, or you don't?
Yes, I enjoy swimming. I swim as much as I can.
What are your other hobbies besides doing yoga?
I play a lot of, I enjoy sport in its sense. I have actually, I ran track and field for Bombay then, now Mumbai. I went up to state level. I used to rifle and pistol shoot, which was very interesting for a few years. I did not pursue that for too long because I had to go to school and study, and there were only so many hours in a day. So I do enjoy a lot of sport. Sport is definitely one thing. I've taken to paddle tennis right now, which is like a new sport that has come to me in my 30s, which is very interesting because I've never been a racket sport enthusiast. Music, travel. I love to travel. I love spending time with my dog, but travel. I love travel, and travel with all the experiences that it brings me I'm very fortunate to have that.
So my reason of asking this question was that how do you manage your time? And this question is for the viewers who always come and say that we don't have time, we don't get time to do what we really want to do.
I manage my time by being more structured about my time, really. For example, if my work makes me travel a lot. So just last week, I was traveling in India only, in Delhi and Hyderabad. And I did extend for an additional day because I wanted to experience or see something. So I think if you're more structured with your timing, and I think you can achieve it all, as in what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, you're making your choices. So yes, of course, it's never going to be equal, but then you prioritize. And I think I've understood what my priorities are earlier than most people, I think.
So, Anshuka, how important do you think it is to educate people on the mental and spiritual aspects of yoga, in addition to the physical benefits? Because a lot of people are not able to understand that yoga can be, because they don't understand that, how this simple exercise of just sitting in a particular manner or lying down could actually be helping you.
So I'll give you an example of hyperventilation and anxiety. And I'm not talking about anxiety where people have anxiety as a condition or a disease, or however you call it, the right way. As a pilot, when you hyperventilate, or even as a passenger, you're meant to blow into a bag to control your breath, right? And as a pilot, we also learn a few breathwork techniques to control our breath. Coming back to the mat, you learn to regulate your breath. The practice of pranayam, of course, it's also energy, but breath work is also like pranayam, just another more English word, because it's regulating your breath. And with your breath, you can change everything. You can change anatomy. You can change really your whole life. So that significance, a lot of people have started understanding. There are studies now that back these age-old practices. So breathwork is really a new age pranayam. People talk about the parasympathetic nervous system. It's become a thing now. For people who don't understand, your parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and relax. Your sympathetic is more your fight or flight. So you always want to sort of knock at your parasympathetic to sort of calm down. In the evening, when a lot of people cannot sleep, they have sleep disorders. It's because their sympathetic nervous system is always on a high. So all of this is really sort of making you trigger your parasympathetic when it's needed. I'm drawing parallels. People talk about the circadian rhythm, right? Like waking up, doing things with the sun rising and sunset. But really, old age practices had the same thing. The texts talk about waking up before sunrise, practicing during Brahma Muhurta. Let's not get into the tradition of it. But the best time, you can say, just while the sun is rising. Hence, it's called Surya Namaskar. But we also have a winding down practice called Chandra Namaskar. So I like that the spiritual aspects and the mental aspects are given more focus to right now, because there is science backing it, And again, why yoga is not about being rigid. It's about being flexible. So as long as the access and the importance is, I like that there is science backing it, because it almost tells you that, okay, it's getting validated. And when awareness is also on a high, there are more questions, right? So I'm very happy that there are studies. And I mean, Harvard Medical School did a study on, I think it was about the parasympathetic nervous system and sleep, and how I feel when you stitch modern technology or whatever to ancient old practices and it's making sense, we know that we are doing something right. So I'm very happy that the focus is given to this.
So how do you see, what is the future of yoga? I mean, are we going to see more modernization of this age-old tradition? I mean, the way that you have taken it to aerial fitness, what do you think is the future of yoga globally?
Oh, I mean, with AI coming in, you have like an AI teacher today. Like, I think the possibilities are endless. And it's very exciting because it is giving everyone access. And again, whether you call it breathwork, you call it pranayam, I think what's important for me as an individual, and hence I don't practice one school of yoga. And because my practice, what I've been taught is that it's not rigid. So I feel like the advancement in technology, I think it's just going to bridge that gap between access, especially with the youth who understand technology better. So I think it's only going to rise. I don't even know after 10 years what it's going to be. Like there was something as simple as I didn't think Skype classes would be a thing for me, or going online I didn't believe that. But very soon I adapted to it once COVID hit. Before that, I was, even monetarily, when people wanted to, pay me a sum of money to teach them online, I believed that it's not possible until I did overnight. So I feel like the endless possibilities, you have to adapt, and I will adapt. And as long as you keep that authenticity of the practice alive, I mean, it's inevitable and it's here to stay. And I would love to be part of that as well, you know.
And Anshuka, would I or could I take the liberty of, before I ask you your message on the International Yoga Day, I see a lot of props behind you. Would it be okay for me to take the liberty of asking you to do one of your yoga blended with aerial fitness bit that you enjoy the most?
Okay, sure. So this is my hammock and this is my inversion. And if you see, I'm upside down. It's very, of course, I mean, we have a lot of protection under it when students do it. And it's not as easy as it looks because I've been practicing this for a while. This is really simple. And this is giving me, I don't even know, it's the numerous benefits. Shirshasana is also called the king of all asanas. Shirshasana. This is the aerial format of it, the fly fit format of it. I enjoy being upside down. I enjoy my inversions. It gives me that adrenaline boost that no other practice really gives you, you know. So yeah, that's unexpected, but that's cool.
So Anshuka, what is your message, or what would be your message that you would want to convey to yoga practitioners across the world on this International Yoga Day?
And I think kindness and compassion is what the world is really lacking at the moment. I feel like no matter our cultural differences, I wish people can see beyond and be kind. That is really my message to everyone at the moment. Of course, please celebrate this practice, no matter what background you come from, no matter, it's so accessible. You don't even need a yoga mat really. People do it on chatai or the ground. You know, you just need a little bit of space. And yeah, I think when you are, you know, when you're tuned in to yourself internally, I think you make better decisions outside and you really shine. And when I mean shine, I actually mean a lot of light, because I think that's what we all need right now globally. A lot of kindness is really important right now.
Absolutely. With that, Anshuka, I must thank you for your time, because, my biggest takeaway was, I firmly believe in it, that if you were to look at your journey and the physical recovery and how it opened up stuff for you and how it gave you your passion, and that passion led you to find your purpose, and eventually
Absolutely.
that turned into something which now gives you your food on the plate as well. It's such a blessing to be able to not only create an impact for yourself, but for everyone around you. I mean, the fact that you were telling me that you are spreading this to those who are deserving but do not have the opportunity or access is one way of giving back to the society and creating an impact on someone who otherwise believe that they do not have access to what the the fortunate ones are. So
Absolutely.
That's an amazing work that you're doing. I must thank you for your time and
Thank you.
Sharing your insights with the world.
Thank you. It was a very soulful conversation. So thank you.